Golden Guardians can do about it. They're not in a spot where they can just run at Team Liquid. There's so much denial capability with the Zoe and the Rakan put together as Haunter's deciding he's going to go for the all-in here on the bottom side into Impact. That's not an all-in you want to take, bro. The damage comes out and Haunter is barely limping away.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if Renekton wins that, as Impact just handily pushes Haunter away.
Yeah, well, with the evidence that I just was shown, I'm going to say he definitely doesn't. Team Liquid feeling better than before now, as Impact is able to heal up, teleport right back into the bottom lane, and continue the siege. Now, granted, there is only 20 seconds remaining on this Baron power play. Golden Guardians still have all 3 inhibitors standing, although they lost the mid lane inhib turret. Preventing any sort of spawning of super minions from a Baron buff that your opponents were able to get still feels good.
And having the G on Impact means he can actually kind of play frontline now. If we think about the setup for the Ocean Soul, knowing he has not only the oranges, but also a second life to absorb the burst cooldowns from Golden Guardians, means that any fight the Golden Guardians starts on Impact, they probably lose, since they wouldn't actually get the kill, and those cooldowns take so long to come back up within the midst of a fight that TL would be able to turn it. So TL smartly playing very aggressive right here to get control of this Ocean Drake before the soul spawns.
Oh, Team Liquid, once again, in a spot where they control the Drake pit. Golden Guardians trying to find any opportunity they can, namely a piercing arrow, to move in here. Broxa with the Predator popped. He knows that if he catches anybody out with that explosive ultimate, he can grab an easy follow-up kill with the assistance of his team. Trouble Bubble shot out there by Jensen to try to get more zone control out. The Drake is spawning, and Golden Guardians are pushing the issue. They're moving up. Core JJ coming around from behind. Gangplank ulti is dropped. Here comes the quickness. Here comes the damage. There goes Golden Glue. That's what they needed for the side of Team Liquid. Who he flashes over the wall, I can't help but feel like it's a completely wasted summoner spell. You're dead to rights either way. Team Liquid with a 2 for 0 will now head back over towards that Ocean Drake.
Yeah, they, I think, considered just walking down mid as well with how strong. Knowing they have double GA on 2 of their carries, Banshee's Veils kind of all around, they've hit the point where they've been able to itemize against this burst. And unless something goes terribly wrong, Team Liquid's got this one in the bag.
Team Liquid, 7,000 gold up. Drake's Soul finally secured. We said this was the easiest game they had remaining out of the 3. I said they needed to win it with style. They needed to look good. Whether or not they're winning it with enough style is up for discussion. But they are in a spot right now where it looks like they should be able to win this and keep those playoff dreams alive. Which it still feels weird to say that we're talking about Team Liquid in this.
Yeah, I mean, 12 kills to 2. 35-minute Ocean Soul. Sure, it's a little slow, but you don't mind in these cases. You're not... At least, I said this yesterday on the analyst desk after Team Liquid lost to EG. It's like, are they dead? I'm like, Team Liquid's not going to be dead to me until they are mathematically eliminated.
Just because it's Team Liquid?
Just because it's Team Liquid. Like, I understand that there are a ton of signs that this team isn't what they were. As Jensen kind of goofs.
I mean, he kind of goofed, but he also kind of lived. They shot everything in the kitchen sink at him, and he just walked away. Ulti called down from Impact to provide suppressing fire as he falls back, but well done there. Jensen, he avoids the death.
Yeah, I've been this way with any League Dynasty team, just like not calling them dead until they actually are eliminated, whether that's TSM when they lost to Clutch in spring of 2018 to fix their final sweep, and now Team Liquid going for this Baron. I think they're just going to win this fight.
Core JJ starting it off. Haunter thrown back into the Team Liquid line, and considering he was all alone, he stood no chance. Huhi now the target yet again as Golden Glue's caught out over the wall. Team Liquid does have some vulnerable health bars, but not vulnerable enough, man. They're just too far ahead. Golden Glue's going to find himself killed here yet again. I pointed out how yesterday he was 0-4-1. Today, 0-4-0, just not the games that Grayson needs to be having right now in these moments. As Impact and the rest of Team Liquid, they're saying, all right, we don't have the Baron, but they got the 2 picks on the enemy solo laners. You mentioned ISO deaths. You mentioned Haunter and Golden Glue dying too much for Golden Guardians. 0-7-0 between them this game. I don't think you could highlight it any better.
Not a good look. from the Golden Guardian solo lanes. Ocean Soul actually paying off big here when the poke lands, so they could very easily restart the Baron after Golden Guardians actually got some good flanks in. With the vision control kind of wrestled away, Golden Guardians is unable to set up any of those big burst picks that they had earlier. And just watching this, like, it's not necessarily a clean fight by Team Liquid. Lots of stuns and CC end up landing for Golden Guardians, but, you know, you can see Closer off on the left, FBA off on the right, Golden Blue up behind them. They're making it difficult on TL, but ultimately unable to get fatal damage on anyone. Double its GA. This is why they build GA on him and GP, so he gets immunity to whatever the first burst combo is. Now they have Baron, and they're looking to end the game.
Yeah, when the biggest thing you can take from a fight is grabbing a guy's GA, you know you're at a bad point in the game. Over 10,000 gold behind. The Golden Guardians will have to make their stand here. It's 2 minutes of Baron locked and loaded here for Team Liquid. Impact once again taking his designated position in the split push, making sure that he's pushing up that bottom side. The rest of the team going to be covering him here from the jungle. Doublelift and Jensen both with plenty of damage to bring to the table here. Both almost, well, Doublelift is full build. Jensen is almost full build. He bought himself his Medjai Soul Stealer just to see if he can add a few extra pages here to the book before the game ends.
Know that Team Liquid is going to win in a straight 5v5. This is sad life for Golden Guardians right now.
Yeah, you don't really have much that you can make happen here. Jensen, he goes forward, he gets caught by the chains, but it's immediately going to be popped anyway. Does not matter. Bottom lane inhibitor falls, mid lane inhibitor, that's your next target for Team Liquid. There we go. Easy peasy 1-2-3-zy. Haunter loses 2/3 of his HP just by existing. Team Liquid is posing one hell of a threat right now as Doublelift is taken down below 20% HP. Has to fall back and regenerate here a bit. Doesn't have TP, so cannot readily go back to base and immediately rejoin the fight. Instead, he moves over to the Wolf Camp, and lifesteal is a hell of a drug, Jat. He's instantly back to 2/3 HP, but the team called to regroup anyway, so they're all back to base.
I mean, 50 seconds left on Baron power play. We might be seeing the old Elder Drake come through.
Here we
TL
go.
doesn't need to take any chances.
No chances.
They're continuing to outscale.
All right.
This is fine.
This is wonderful. We're waiting on the Elder Drake now. 40 minutes into the game. 11,000 gold lead. But
look at double CS, man. 470 in 40-minute game.
yeah, that's
At this point, he's only farming for elixir gold.
that's a little wild. I mean, I guess you could sell your shoes and buy a Phantom Dancer or something.
You can. Yeah, technically he has no lifeline passive right now, so Phantom Dancer would work. He's already over 100% crit though, which still scales a little bit with Xayah. I think some of the abilities. He would be over 100 if he'd be over 100 if he built Phantom Dancer. Because I think he's at 100 right
No, he's at 75 because Mercurial
I'm trolling.
and GA
You're right.
give it.
Yep, I'm trolling.
All right. Well, he could
Let's
do
do the
that.
Phantom
We'll see
Dancer.
if he does that. I don't know what he's going to do. We're hoping for the Elder Drake right now. Team Liquid doesn't want to push down this last remaining inhibitor turret. They're going to go for the big boy instead. Elder Drake spawning here under 20 seconds. Golden Guardians on their death knell. Pretty much, if you give Team Liquid Elder Drake, you lose the game automatically. Yes, 9 times out of 10 you lose the game if you go towards the Elder Drake anyway, but hey, that's better odds than 10 times out of 10.
And there's a good chance that TL doesn't even take Elder into kill range, but they're only using it as a way to get Golden Guardians to come to Elder. Which I think is what the smart play would be, because Elder is just as effective for the team that has or doesn't have souls. You can see Golden Blue just gets chunked.
All right, Elder Drake, what do you got for me, buddy? Let's see how this one goes.
Okay,
FBI
flank.
throws out the chains. Core JJ's coming in from behind, looking for the opportunity to engage. Repel comes out from closer, but there's nothing else to repel to as Core JJ goes over the wall. He's able to find the engage onto Golden Blue, and Haunts are both once again those solo lanes caught and destroyed as Doublelift will go up into the ulti. The stasis comes out from both Core JJ and Closer, but for the latter, it's the last thing he'll do this game. He and FBI will run away towards the bottom lane as Broxa and Impact will say, don't worry, fellas, we got it. They're on the Nexus itself. The playoff dream lives on for Team Liquid, and they take down Golden Guardian.
TL moved to 7-9. Golden Guardians fall to 6-10, and Captain Flowers 0016 for Core JJ. That's a bit of a throwback game for him, I gotta say.
That is the support dream for Mr. JJ.
True.
Exactly where you want to see your Rakan at. He found initiations, he found opportunities the entire game. Team Liquid, they're still alive. And now that game is over, we are going to be stepping away here for a moment to set up game 2, but we'll see you here right after the break where CLG will go up against Cloud9.
When you're chasing greatness, just remember, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do.
Yeah, I'm married. Doesn't matter. You do that for me? Really? Yeah, I'd like that.
Who are you talking to?
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning? Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis? Hey, do they ever ask you what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Red sweater, button-down shirt. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And we're back for game 2 of the day, CLG versus Cloud9. Before we dive straight into this one, though, I do want to get a quick recap on the game that we just saw play out, Team Liquid versus Golden Guardians, as it was such an important game for each of those squads that were sitting at 6 and 9 rather. Now TL up to 7 and 9. Azael, coming to you first. Thoughts on Team Liquid's victory there, and looking ahead at their next 2 games that are must wins for them to get into the playoff picture.
Was a little bit slow to close it out, but overall, I thought they were going to win just based off the draft. I think this is the kind of composition that you want to see them play. I think it is the kind of champions individually for the players that you want to see them play. Impact on a scaling weak side champion. Brox and Core JJ on champions that can actually engage and make things happen. And both Jensen and Doublelift have the ability to actually take over team fights and make plays individually. It's not them so reliant on others to make things happen when they're playing Xayah as well as the Zoe. So I really liked it from TL.
Mark, thoughts on the way that TL played there in that composition, considering the fact that if TL even makes it into the postseason, they're going to have to challenge teams like the Cloud9 we're about to see play in just a moment.
I mean, it was a necessary win, and it was a good win in some sense, to Azael's point about, the comp and how they played it and things, and there were a lot less individual mistakes than we've seen recently. It was a little slow. The enemy team did have a good early game comp, but even around objectives towards the end of the game, they were getting poked off a little bit. Jensen had this awkward flash over a wall and some of those things. They really need to clean that up, not just for if they make playoffs, but because they have to beat C9 and FlyQuest still in the next week, and those are some things they can improve on.
Let's talk about one of those teams they'll have to beat then in Cloud9 here today up against CLG, the locked into last place currently, but can play spoiler to some other teams. Crumbs, coming to you though, while TL is trying to find a singular identity right now and maybe get that worked into a well-oiled kind of position, Cloud9 is doing the opposite. They've established themselves in their dominance, and as we saw yesterday with the Kalista top, the Syndra bot, the Gragas, and the Yasuo, they're really starting to experiment and see what else they can bring up to a competitive level so that they have more in the playbook for the postseason.
Yeah, and that playbook is all about instilling fear in their competition when playoffs come around. How big are their champion pools? How quickly can they dispatch games? And against CLG, obviously it's first place versus last. It's probably going to be a stomp, but we need to see how quickly can Cloud9 just win a game. Can they make minimal mistakes against CLG, or is CLG a team that can actually draw blood from Cloud9? If that happens, then I think they'll be feeling like this is something that should not have happened and that they should continue to just smash so that when playoffs come around, everyone's just trembling at the sight of having to face Cloud9.
So more flexibility but continued dominance is what we want to see out of Cloud9 here in the late stages of this split. Azael, coming back to you though on CLG's point, where should the mindset of the organization be right now in closing the split? They know that they're not making it into the postseason, but with the addition of Pobelter more recently, they have found more success on the back half than the front half of the split. Where would your mind be if you were somewhat in charge of this org and kind of looking towards summer?
I think you have to take a look at how you've performed with Pobelter and say, would we have made playoffs if we had Pobelter the entire split, right? And if you can honestly say, yes, I believe that we would actually be a playoff team if we had more time to, gel with Pobelter, to work with him. If CLG believes that, I think that you're pretty happy with your position right now going into summer, having something to build on. If you do not believe that you would be a playoff team with Pobelter having been there the whole time, I think it's time to think about what you want to change for CLG and for the players that are still there to prove that they are worth keeping.
Mark, thoughts on CLG and even for the players individually who need to prove their worth here with only 3 games left in the split looking towards summer?
I think that's the right way for the players to be thinking about this. You're not just playing, to try and pick up a win and look good. You're kind of on a bit of a tryout, I would think, because the org should be looking to make moves in summer. So every game for the players should feel really important. They should try to put their best foot forward to show that, hey, you should keep me for summer. I am a valuable asset for this team.
Well, CLG has already reacted to what Cloud9 showed us yesterday with the Kalista ban hitting the table very early on in that first ban phase. With that, though, the teams are into champion select, so that means it's my cue to hand it back over to Captain Flowers and Jack for the call.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Here we go. Counter Logic Gaming versus Cloud9. The best versus the opposite of that here in the Spring 2020 split, as Cloud9 have already wholeheartedly deserved first place and earned first place and cemented themselves first place in the regular season play. CLG mathematically eliminated from playoffs. I just want to see creativity from both teams here.
I think so. I mean, you can see already that Dash pointed out the Kalista ban. You can see the Karthus ban, which is something Wiggly played yesterday. Didn't look good, but I think is still a valuable pick for a lot of teams. And we say best versus worst, but I actually think if CLG had Pobelter from the start of the split, they wouldn't be the worst team. I think they'd actually be competing for a playoff spot. So I think Cloud9 has the right mindset in these last 2 weeks, at least after looking at what they did yesterday against 100 Thieves, where they're just going to expand their champion pools, but they're going to keep competing at a very high level, because if they can maintain that level, they got the split in the bag.
I think literally everyone, even people with CLG in their nicknames in Twitch chat, would be surprised if CLG pulled off a win against Cloud9 here. The way Cloud9 has been playing and the way CLG has been playing so far this split, obviously things have gotten better with Pobelter, but it just seems the entire split, like Cloud9 is on another level. And the way that I've likened it to throughout this whole split, whenever I've talked with people about it, is it feels like watching a main region team play against emerging region teams at an international event. Cloud9 just seems like they understand League of Legends and play League of Legends so much better than the other 9 teams in the LCS that it's not even close. And TSM finally broke that armor. They finally were like, okay, they can bleed. But they're still 14-1, and they are still the scariest team in this league.
Totally agree. And a little bit of a switch up in draft here. You can see jungler picked in first rotation. Not a lot of people are doing that. And Blabber continues to have one of the smallest list of champions played in the LCS this split, only at 4 unique champions. It's his 6th Gragas game to go with 7 Lee Sin, 2 Elise, and 1 Pantheon. So Cloud9 has an engine that works when Blabber is on Gragas. And the Aurelia being picked up this early, probably empowered a little bit by the Blade of the Ruined King buffs, I think it's going to be a flex pick that follows this Rumble around. So kind of matching a flex solo laner with a flex solo laner. I like it.
And as the bans are coming through in the second half here, it's Sejuani and Renekton banned out by C9. They don't want Wiggly to be on that massive frontline meatball of a Sejuani. And CLG, they're targeting things that can keep Aphelios safe, it appears, as Thresh will be banned away. They've already drafted the TK for themselves, so that's effectively eliminated from Cloud9. Let's see what the last one will go to. Are they trying to prevent something like a Braum? Are they trying to prevent other defensive options? Or will they pivot away? No, the Ornn. They want to stop C9 from picking that up.
I mean, I think Braum is the pick if you're drafting for an Aphelios. It works well against Varus, which might end up being lethality. We've seen so much lethality Varus this week. When we've seen it, I think it's only been lethality Varus.
Or you know, do we get barred?
Apparently we just get barred.
I like how you're using logic and reasoning to pick out the champion that lines up the situation most properly for both the enemy picks and the ally picks, but instead we get
meep noises.
Barred. We get noises and meeps and chimes.
So I think Bard is actually good.
Okay.
Yeah. Azael talked about this on the dive. He's been spamming a bunch of Guardian Bard. We saw Omnistone Bard from G2 just this week in the LEC. It has a really high win rate in solo queue. I think it even got nerfed in patch 10.6. So it is actually a good pick. It's not great peel, which is why it's a little strange to see with Aphelios, but I think we should be seeing more Bard.
All right. Bard's picked up. The response from CLG, they pick up the Rek'Sai and they pick up the Jace.
You do you, CLG.
You do, yeah. So what I'm looking at when I see this,
it's actually more poke, right?
They started off by picking Rumble, who is an insane team fighter and provides a lot of AoE and just, zone control and all of this. And then they have Rek'Sai and Jace, which if they fall behind, they're both completely worthless. And Varus is a champion that we're seeing mostly played for poke, so he's not going to be the greatest team fighter either. So the CLG draft just kind of seems helter-skelter to me. Yasuo, the final pick here for Cloud9. Once again, bringing the Gragas Yasuo combo to the table. We saw them play this yesterday. A big combo coming out from those two specifically is what ended the game, and they're going to put some more practice on it here today as well.
Yeah, the way I look at these comps, Captain Flowers, is it's poke versus hard engage. Jace, Rumble, Lethality Varus, very pokey with the Tahm Kench to try and peel, and then you'll have the solo lanes both being melee for Cloud9. Yeah. It actually looks a lot more like a 2019 summer Cloud9 when Svenskeren was making his MVP push of just like, let's try and 1-3-1 as much as possible and get flanks. Looking pretty advantaged to Cloud9 to me, unless they get demolished in the laning phase by Jason Varus.
Well, the picks are locked in, and once again, we will be heading into a break. That's 5 minutes for competitive integrity. Once we're back, we're going to be casting the game right in front of your very eyes, so don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are for Game 2, Day 2, Week 8 of the LCS. We have had to take a 5-minute break to preserve competitive integrity, but we're about to hop into Summoner's Rift here yet again. It's Cloud9 versus CLG. Both teams have solidified their positions in the end of regular split standings already. CLG mathematically eliminated from playoffs. Cloud9 already clinching that first seed with their impressive 14-1 record. And during the break, Jat and I were having a little discussion, and he said he wanted to talk about this when we got in game. I said I don't like CLG's draft at all. I think NA Jace has a reputation that speaks for itself. I think Rek'Sai falls off a cliff post 25 minutes. I think this is a 22-minute game. And Jat said that's way too fast. So, let's just...
Yeah, the shortest game of the split, I cheated. You told me your argument, and I didn't tell you mine. So,
okay.
Shortest game of the split was CLG versus Team Liquid, 23.5 minutes. The last time these two teams played, it was 26.5 minutes. So I just think 22 minutes is too fast. That's actually the whole bit of my
allow me to math your math, my friend. If TL beat them in 23.5, and Cloud9 is better than TL, then Cloud9 can beat them faster. This is simple arithmetic, dear Watson.
They can. Here's another issue. I found the origins of the Bard Aphelios.
Okay.
It was 17 hours ago in solo queue with Vulcan.
This is 17? Yeah. I thought you were going to give me something that's like some ancient, unspoken, like, dark magics that were released as soon as Aphelios came out, and there's like a one-trick duo queue that's been spamming this that was now discovered, but no, 17 hours ago in solo queue. All right.
Well, they played it. Vulcan was Electrocute Bard. He went 1-7 and they lost. So he switched to the more defensive Guardian Bard, which I think is better. And we're gonna see how it plays out.
All right, let's see how it goes. We got Blabber starting in his on his top side jungle here. We've got Wiggly going into Blabber's jungle too. He wants to go ahead and just grab himself some Krugs here.
Yeah, it looks like we have a bit of a vertical jungle with the early invade, and Rek'Sai, knowing he has the Jace ranged advantage at level 1, wants to keep a lot of pressure on this top side. It also means that Sven and Vulcan will be able to push up on bot side, but like the early Rumble and the early Jace give a ton of pressure with which Wiggly can use to invade.
Wiggly on this Rek'Sai, feeling good. He was able to steal the red buff away from Blabber at the very start, so that's a good denial early on away from this Gragas. Rek'Sai's strongest at the beginning of the game. Whenever a player or a team drafts his champion, I want to see them make moves early on. Starting off with a buff steal is always a nice way to do that, as Licorice goes in, lands himself a stun onto Ruin, and then right back out. Just wants to make sure he gets that damage wherever he can find it. Doesn't just let Jace run the lane here, as Wiggly is going to tunnel through the mid lane. Not too worried about it just yet, because he's not exactly giving his position away. The wave is pretty far pushed up. The biggest thing he's worried about is stopping Blabber from doing a counter steal on his own red.
And it looks like Blabber actually got out of the range of the Tremor Sense, and if we're just counting camps, right, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 right now for Blabber, and 1, 2, 3 on the 4th for Wiggly. So Blabber is, even though he's red buffless, camp ahead right now. So the counter jungling hasn't yet affected him, aside from the fact that he doesn't have a red buff.
Crabs available as well. Wiggly going for the top side one, Blabber going for the bottom side one. It means that Blabber's not going to be denied a Scuttle Crab by this early pathing. Wiggly's deciding to head right back into the enemy jungle because he wants to grab these chickens on respawn. Doesn't look like he'll stick around to get
He should have the timer now that he's seen them. He should know that they're up, but the Scuttle seems to be higher priority. I wish he would have actually stuck around to take those Raptors, because now Blabber has
something to farm.
Smooth farm path wherever he goes next, especially when he bases for his Predator boots.
Right, needs to get back, make sure he grabs the boots so that he actually, has a keystone. And you can see that picked up there, along with the amplifying tome. And Wiggly just heads back onto his own side of the jungle. And I think that's interesting when we talk about when a player steals a buff early on and how much it actually helps them. Because if you steal the buff, but then your opponent manages to just clear what's left and get a gank, they're really not behind. Because the extra time it takes you to hoof it over to the other side of the map and then come back with your buff if you're not actually making any plays, the only way that it gets you ahead is if your opponent clears through the rest of his jungle, then doesn't have a gank to make, And so now he just has less overall resources available. That's when you get ahead.
Yeah.
If he can find an opportunity in between, then it actually doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, I still need to do more testing on this, as it looks like Ruin's just trying to shove this into turret. Hopefully we don't miss the first gank of the game, but I've been doing a few jungle paths that are like skipping my buffs on the first route. I don't necessarily know if it would be pro-viable because they're way too good at tracking junglers, but when the small camps have respawns of 120 seconds, which is just so fast, being able to cycle those can actually get you to level 6 before the other jungler who's spending time in between his, I call it cycling, just going back to base and kind of farming camps on respawn.
Right.
If your second clear is going to be faster after your first base if you can pick up the second jungle item component. So I've had a few routes that are like, I'll do like Wolves, Raptors, Krugs base. Then I'm level 3, I can buy my second jungle component, get a control ward, and then I'm there for the spawn of Scuttle. I don't have any buffs, so my combat power is lower.
Right.
But once I do clear my jungle a second time, I'm significantly ahead of the other guy in experience. So that's just kind of an example of why getting 3 buff doesn't really matter if you're not going to be doing PvP at all anyway. As you can see now, Blabber is 11 CS up and a level on Wiggly.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was most curious about in this was the Scuttle Crabs, right? Because without the buffs, you do lose the power to contest for those. So if the guy shows up at the same crab that you're at, you lose it. Now, granted, in solo queue, most of the time, everybody paths from bottom side to top side because bot side's more willing to leash you. So if you just go for the bottom side crab 4 out of 5 times, you're going to be fine anyway just by flipping that coin that way. But Cloud9 are now going to grab themselves an Infernal Drake. They'll pick up this nice early objective. Nobody's going for any kills just yet, so this will be the first thing really on the board to separate the teams here. And that's secured no contest.
I actually think you could try this on Skarner Flowers. So, like, let's say you're red side.
We used to do this.
If you
we had this conversation.
If you just did Wolves, Raptors, Krugs, and then base, you can take bottom Scuttle, and it's fine.
Back in Season 6, when I was best Skarner in A, the path that I would do, I would start every game off by saying, I will be level 6 at 602 with red buff, flash, and ulti. If you ask me to gank before then, I am muting you. And I would clear through my whole jungle. Not Blabber. Blabber's gonna be jumped on though. Buffs or not, the man's in trouble. Smoothie's coming around, he's got the lick, he's got the stick. Can they get the kick? Yes, they will. The first blood over to Pobelter.
I knew we were going to get tangent in jungle and miss first blood, so I apologize for those viewers. Basically, what happened is COG did the repeat on Blabber's red buff, which did catch him a little unawares, and honestly, these soul lanes by C9 have a really hard time establishing push, like Licorice against the Jace, and even the Yasuo against the Rumble, so it's really dangerous for Blabber to go up here. You can see he's clearing vision, they have the Tremor Sense, Pobelter just waits, and it is pretty well executed, right? They get the flash knockup. It doesn't matter that he's able to flash away because Smoothie's also made a roam, and they pick up that first blood. Good start for CLG.
CLG getting the first blood on Cloud9, getting themselves an over 1,000 gold lead. But the strategy you were talking about, by the way, before the first blood broke out, that's what I used to do in Season 6. It works less effectively if you're up against somebody that's going to invade you, like a Lee Sin or an Udyr, but you clear the entire jungle, no buffs, then come back, clear the entire jungle with buffs again. You would have level 6 with flash, ult, and red buff as Skarner at 6 minutes and 2 seconds. You flash ult the mid laner when he's still level 5, he dies, he gets mad at his own jungler, and then you take the Drake and you win. It's the freest League of Legends you could ever play. And then they nerfed it and you couldn't do it anymore, and I was so sad in Season 7. Blabber's making a play on the bottom side though. He knocks Stixay back. Follow-up damage coming through, and Stixay is just exploded. Nothing Smoothie can do to save him.
The lane bullying of Vulcan and Sven has actually been kind of out of control this game. Look how they've accrued an already 20 CS advantage. They burned the Devour with the Bard ultimate just to set up Blabber coming in with his Predator boots. That was really smooth by C9 to pick up that kill.
C9, not one to be asleep at the wheel, making sure that CLG aren't the only team on the board here. Catching up there and making it so now Pobelter once again has to come back and answer the mid lane as Niski pushes that out. He'll rotate up into this topside river to make sure Blabber doesn't get collapsed upon as they take the Rift here.
Just like that, C9, normal first Drake control, normal first Herald control. Dicey 1v1 though.
Here we go. Licorice takes it down. There you go. When Jace is not winning lane, it's a bad sign, man. This is what I'm talking about with Jace. I just this is Jace.
Yep. I felt like Ruin was going to be able to win this 1v1. He's such a high elo solo queue player. I think he's currently at rank 6, has been rank 1 throughout the year, knows the lane dominant style, knows how to snowball these games, but in this case just gets all in by Licorice, burns his flash, and dies. That's just the worst case scenario in terms of keeping together an early game snowball into a poke.
Ruin behind on the Jace now, with his opponent also rushing the Blade of the Ruin King. Like, the Blade of the Ruin King buffs, we've seen so many more champions building this item now. And it's especially effective in matchups like this one because of the fact that it gives you that extra chase potential, that extra sticking potential on a target that normally wants to kite you out. So with Licorice rushing this item, it's going to make it very difficult for Ruin to keep him at range.
Yeah, and just so you know why we're paused, there is a problem in the future that we are just pausing to resolve. It looks like they're getting ready checks very soon, so we should be able to get out of here quickly. And I'm pulling up something about Jace Flowers because I believe he has recently been changed to be just a little bit more of a scaler, so his early game isn't quite as oppressive. In 10-4, the base damage of his melee Q did go up with level, and in 10-1, the base damage of his Shock Blast went from 55 to 305 to 55 to 330. Remember, that's a 6-point ability, so it goes until level 11. So it still is something that is disastrous to die on, but I do think Jace's scaling is improved. So it's not quite as dominant early into useless late as it used to be, and it's a little bit smoother. Still a big play by Licorice, and luckily we're back into the game.
Back into the game now as Licorice, I already commented, he's going for the Blade of the Ruin King. You can see the pieces of the lethality items being constructed there by Ruin. I'm assuming it's going to be a Ghost Blade, providing extra movement speed for him will be critical in trying to outplay those Blade of the Ruin King maneuvers that will come out from Licorice. Also worth one thing that I want to point out here that I didn't mention earlier. Cloud9 are running 2 exhausts on their composition. When they go into these fights, if anybody dives in on them, if the Jace goes melee mode, if Rek'Sai comes in, even if Rumble's looking to get in there and just torch everybody with a flame spitter, there's going to be a lot of denial potential, and there's a lot of dive potential too, as Cloud9, they find themselves a kill onto Stixxay for the second time this game, and his life is just miserable in this bottom lane.
Is this Vulcan's Player of the Week campaign? I'll have to check on what he was playing in the game earlier this week, because this Bard of Felios lane is out of control. Like, that was so smooth. The 2 kills they've had have just been so smooth with the way they've been able to get the cooldowns out and eventually get the kill.
Niski now going to find Smoothie waiting for him in that brush, and that means Pobelter and Licorice are getting into a 1v1, but over the wall comes Wiggly looking to bring down the damage, and Licorice is exploded. Wiggly gets away from the turret in time to prevent a return kill, and Ruin all the meanwhile just has the opportunity to slam this top lane turret. They will grab that one to equalize the turret count, nearly bring this gold back to even as well. But Vulcan and Sven, the Bard of Felios combo, have made their way into the top lane. The damage comes down, the exhaust goes out, and Ruin goes home with a screen in black and white. That is the 4th kill of the game now for Cloud9, the 3rd that this bottom lane is responsible for.
The point-blank face slap stun into the minion by Vulcan. That was just hilarious to watch. Good job by Ruin, right? Like, he's had some moments in these games, you know, getting first turret. He had a bit of a comeback after falling behind early on Aurelia against Dignitas, but ultimately you look up now and he's 0-2-0 on Jace, and Sven's Aphelios and Vulcan's Bard are looking to run over this game.
They are doing so damn well for a pick that we were memeing on a little bit in Champion Select for being Bard, but Vulcan is doing a great job on it. Yeah, it's working fantastically, and I love to see that. I love a pick that when you're surprised to see it in Champion Select, it pops off when you get onto the Rift, because it shows that there's more things to be found than just what is accepted in the meta.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's doing Guardian as well. I know Omnistone is probably more fun, which is why it's the taken rune by a lot of people, and Electrocute is the burst thing, but Guardian is ultimately just the best thing. Your damage is good enough, and you actually have a large amount of shielding and healing when you're allowing your heals to kind of mature and also your guardians to go up. But Licorice,
Licorice gets exploded, but Blabber shows up just a little bit too late to save his teammate. He will get a return kill and force Ruin back. Blabber now walking up through the river. See if he finds anybody waiting on him there, as Pobelter was chilling out in the brush. Drops down the equalizer, looks to go after Blabber. Stasis into a redemption. Vulcan goes trying to find a double stasis, but he won't be able to get it. He still manages to protect Blabber enough to keep him alive, and now he's trying to stay on top of Pobelter to provide the opportunity for Niski to go after the kill. Niski's like, all right, Bard, you're not coming, well, I'm going anyway. But instead, he'll just move down here to clear out the wave.
Maybe a 1/10 of a second away from just a godlike stasis timing by Vulcan. The travel time of your ult does change depending on how far away you are. Missed ult by Licorice, but they're still going.
Stixay with the flash away to make sure that ulti doesn't connect, and Licorice may now be punished. Ruin over the wall has the damage, and that is Licorice's 3rd death this game. Things not going great for him here in the top side.
Yeah, when they can actually pull off flanks, the Aurelia is going to be successful, but it is a bit of a hard life. Laning up against Jace for most of the early game, you can see his CS has fallen a little bit behind, and it's been a little bit of an off game for him. I mean, for as dominant as Cloud9 is, I think yesterday was Blabber's off game.
Yeah.
At one point he was 0-3-1 or something.
There was a lot of deaths for him yesterday.
And it might be Licorice's off game right now.
I mean, better to get him out of your system now than when playoffs start up, but we'll see if he can clean it up here a little bit. Still working towards that Blade of the Ruin King. Has the Ninja Tabby in inventory. Very effective item against a Jace Rek'Sai combo, as the two champions are going to be dealing with the most coming after you. Looking at the rest of the Cloud9 score lines, you've still got 2-0-1, the best score line for Sven here on the Aphelios. Has the Essence Reaver completed, working on that second item next. Across the board, Stixay does have Yumu's Ghostblade plus the second Serrated Dirk in inventory, but he is lagging a bit behind in CS, and of course doesn't have the same kill money that his opponent possesses either. Next Drake is coming up in a little bit over 2 minutes. Cloud9 have secured the first 2 for themselves. And remember, it's Cloud Drake, which I think is or Cloud Soul, I should say, which I think is the one that has the most variance between champions for how much you should get out of it. And Aphelios can get some good use out of it. Bard can get, honestly, everybody on the Cloud9 squad can get some good use out of it. You don't have any champions that are going to be rooting themselves as they all.
Yeah, if COG gets control of the game back and they're able to get it on Rumble, it's actually pretty devastating to Equalizer and then zoom to finish up burning people.
High-speed flamethrower.
It is interesting here, though, that COG actually wrestled control of Rift Herald. It's really rare that C9 gives over any objectives, but the trade was actually to give Licorice a bunch of free farm on the bottom side, which for them, since he's one of their core initiators, probably worth it, as long as they're able to step up and contest the Rift Herald usage of COG.
Yeah. Ruin forced to flash away there. Vulcan goes for the ulti to set up the pick, but nice summoner spell usage will deny that. And the point about Licorice is interesting too, because when we're talking about the new age builds of Blade of the Ruin King, remember they make you strong in a duel, because lifesteal is very effective at combating damage over time. But in a team fight scenario where you can be instantly blown up by 5 people, not having the health of a Trinity Force does make you more squishy, more susceptible to that instant burst. So Licorice does need to make sure that he's not falling too far behind the general curve of the game in terms of his stat line, as the Rift Herald is summoned up here in the mid lane. This turret won't die from just a charge, so they will need a little bit follow-up damage here from Shelly. Takes it down to 20% HP or so, but that's all they'll get.
Yeah, pretty useless Rift, all things considered, not even breaking up mid, with Drake up in 43 seconds as well, so they can't even use the defense as a means to get to the Drake. Luckily, though, they haven't used Rumble Ultimate or Varus Ultimate. That's going to be CLG's big opportunity with this Cloud Drake spawning in 30 seconds. It might even be something that C9 just concedes. Kind of in a weird state in the game right now where Pobelter's Rumble is powered up, and I think C9's a little bit worried about trying to force this melee pile on top of a Rumble team, because they might just get wiped.
He's got the double spell penetration. He's got the Haunting Guys working